Hello and welcome to this Friday's episode of Ask Pastor Nike. Nike Ayola is my name. Now, some of the interesting responses I received from a recently uploaded short video that asked who is supposed to live and cleave is the guide for today's topic. For the purpose of those who may not have seen the short in reference, let me just do a quick, less than a minute recap. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 24 and Mark 10 and verse 7 say exactly the same thing. This is why a man will leave his father and mother and will be united with his wife, and they will become one flesh. Now, I pointed out in the video that according to God's standard or requirement, the man is, again, the husband, the man is to leave his family and go to his wife, his woman, and be joined to her, and they become one. That's as brief as I can make it. And I'm sure you all picked the fact that I'm killing several birds with one stone here, with the emphasis that I'm making. I'm sure you also agree with me that for most of our cultures, the exact opposite is actually what we see happening. The husband, the man, remains with his family. Well, maybe not necessarily in the same house with them, even though some actually do that. But he's expected to bring his wife to his people. And the woman is expected to leave her father and mother and go to be joined not only to her husband, but to his family as well. Now, I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with that arrangement, except that it's not what God asked for us to do. Honestly, no matter how we spin it, the kingdom standard is what we're expected to aspire to, not our tradition or culture or what we're used to or what the next person is doing. Then, I believe the right thing to do is ask why the man is the one required to leave his family and cleave to his wife. And I believe our God in his wisdom, because all his ways are just, gave us this pattern for our benefit. And I want to try to explain why. Like I said before, the woman is already conditioned by society and culture to leave anyway, but you will observe from the scripture verse that God is silent on what the woman should do. While the man is called to leave his family of birth so he can concentrate on, building the new one he's been given, the wife is not required to leave because the woman is the glue that binds the family together. Let me explain why. The beauty of our creation is that God designed us to be similar in areas that require agreement and then to complement one another in others. This means that if a man and woman are exactly the same, it will be impossible for us to fulfill God's mandate, to repopulate and subdue this earth. We are equipped with different capacities, to enable each one of us fulfill our assigned roles and destinies appropriately, either as the husband or as the wife. So while the man is empowered with the ability to be dispassionate about so many things, so he can focus on the business of making a life for his family, the woman is the one that holds the families together, both hers and his. She is the interface, the glue that prevents the unraveling of all the relationships, or at least she's supposed to be. So while the scripture tells us that the man leaves, the woman is not told to. In fact, she shouldn't have to, really, for the well-being of her new family, as well as the two families they're both coming from. Females are the nurturers and caregivers, so the woman can't afford to shut her eyes and her heart from both sets of parents and other family members. Now, from all of our collective experiences, I'm sure we can say that it's constantly wives and daughters that care for and sometimes care about parents and children and family members that need special attention. God deliberately designed it that way, and we can all see the wisdom of God in giving us this command. Having said that, let me now break it down a little bit more, by telling us what God's expectations are. And I'd like to start with the men. Now, a lot of you, my brothers, have done your wives grievous harm by failing to comply with this kingdom standard. And I know that for many brothers, it's because they didn't know any better. Many of you brought us sisters into already made families where there were parents, senior and junior siblings, cousins, nieces, nephews, and other family members waiting for us. And you know what happened? They made us feel less than. They made us feel like we didn't belong. That arrangement gave them the upper hand and made us second-class citizens in the same place where we should matter the most. I know you brothers probably didn't think of it that way. But that's what happened. Our voices were drowned out even before we could open our mouths, because what was supposed to be a neutral space that we were supposed to build up together was already populated before we got there by people who necessarily didn't have our best interests at heart. You know what? If you are one of the brothers who brought your family into your marriage, who didn't live to cleave, irrespective of whether you knew it at that time or not, I believe that you owe your wife a deep apology and appreciation that she stayed. It's your responsibility as the head of the family to shield your wife from all extraneous forces and even neutral ones. And I promise you, even though many men are not aware, that your family is sometimes one of such forces. And now to my sisters. You and I are the glue that God is depending on to keep the family together. God asked our husbands to leave because He's expecting us to pick up that responsibility. And we need to understand that once we are married, we have two sets of parents. So even if it looks like our husbands, want to move away from their birth families, maybe even only in their hearts, it's our responsibility to ensure that they don't. We're supposed to guarantee equal access and equal opportunities to both sides of the family and handle matters concerning the husband's family as seriously as we will handle it if they involved our families alone. And it's not dependent on how they, that is our new parents, see or treat us. What we are doing, the actions we are taking, is in obedience to God and not because someone is demanding it of us. And I know it sometimes might be hard, being there, done that. But we're supposed to love our husbands' birth families as deeply as we love ours. And I promise you, even the most difficult of humans will respond to love. Now, for both husbands and wives, please be assured that walking in obedience to God guarantees us the help and the encouragement we need, to be able to take things in stride. It also means that God will be looking out for us and will protect us if we imagine that someone is trying to undermine our places or positions in our families. Moreover, every action is a seed. So daughters and daughters-in-law who will be kind and considerate of us in the future can only come from the seeds of mercy and love that we sow into our own families now. Now, if you are married, I believe you've picked up a few things that you need to do or amend about your home. And if you are not yet, I believe you have a better understanding of what the standards are now. See you again next Friday. Shalom.